Hey, Kurt, for oldhalloween.com, where we have a number of resources for us to use when we are trying to make decisions about what we should collect or how to build a collection regarding antique or vintage Halloween. And I hope that you enjoy our resources. Today, we're going to talk about the 30 most expensive Halloween collectibles for 2023. And what we mean by that is the most expensive or the highest prices achieved by antique and vintage Halloween collectibles just in 2023. So there are a number of things that are incredibly interesting to note about this. Since we're doing the top 30, I thought within that top 30, we could give you a little bit of a breakdown. And so I want to do a quick breakdown in terms of the percentage or the portion of that top 30 that was just on eBay. Well, I'll back up for a second and mention that for those of you who've been paying attention to all of the auction houses, you probably were, just like I was, incredibly enamored of the lineups at the end of the year. Bertoia happened on December 1st, and they had tranches. That means several large groups of lots, not just one lot or two lots or a group of lots, but several groups of very large lots of antique and vintage Halloween. It was fantastic to watch. It's no wonder then that they figured prominently in some of those top prices, including the number one most expensive item, Halloween collectible to sell in 2023. But we're going to do the top 30. In addition, and I'll get back to numbers in just one second, in addition to Bertoia, we'll also see a couple of other auction houses. In particular, there are several that hammered at Pook and Pook early in 2023. You may have forgotten about them. We don't want you to forget about them. And so we're going to talk about those today. And one at Cotton Auction. So we know that there are, of the top 30, a full 1/3. 10 of the top 30 were all in Bertoia. And then an additional 5 were in Pook and Cotton. So 15 of the top 30, half of the top 30 were not on eBay. The other half were on eBay. All right, one other thing that's really incredibly interesting to note, and we'll mention a few other things that are kind of cool about thematics or genres as we move forward in this list, is that there were a number of things to note relative to pricing. And so when we say the most expensive Halloween collectibles in 2023, we're talking about dollars. So these are the ones that sold in the US. The top price is almost $20,000. The lowest, that is the number 30, is still well above $3,000. So that means folks were spending some pretty good bucks on some great collectibles this year. And in the top 19, everything in the top 19 was all $4,000 or more. So just a couple of additional really interesting tidbits. All right, let's get started and look at our number 30 most expensive, most valuable Halloween collectible to sell in 2023. I feel like we needed a drum roll. I forgot to do a drum roll. I needed a really strong drum roll. Number 30 was this German Scared Cat Halloween candy container. It sold for $3,528. And this is the first of many pieces that sold at auction. It sold January 2023 at Pook and Pook. And you will notice that it's a candy container. So it does have what looks like a kind of a felt-like hair. The head would pop off and it would be a candy container. That's number 30. Let's go to number 29. Number 29. Now, it's no surprise that the Toledo parade lanterns figure prominently in this list because, of course, they always command a pretty healthy premium. This particular instance of the Toledo 10 parade lantern sold September of 2023 for $3,550. And it was not the first in the list. I should say it's not the last in the list, but it's also interesting that there were actually a number of Toledo 10 parade lanterns that sold at 2 auctions on December 1st. And I don't think any of those 3 achieved this value. So if you were still at the end of the season looking to acquire a 10 parade lantern, those might have been options for you. But that was 29. And of course, this is interesting, In 28th place was also a tin lantern for $3,560. This one looked to be in very good shape. It even had this patented information here printed underneath, which I thought was a little bit interesting. I don't know, honestly, I just don't. If they're supposed to be the collar piece on every single one, in my estimation, it might not have actually had one of those collar or neck pieces, since instead of the stamped tin neck collar piece that might have sat down below, this actually had the printing of the patent date down here. But in any event, this seemed to be in pretty good shape. So much so that I even wondered if it had been touched up and preserved. I still wonder that actually. I'd want to see a blacklight test of the front paint, but overall the tin seemed to be in very good shape. That was number 28. Let's see where we're at in terms of 27. Let's also see if we can escape the tin parade lanterns. Number 27 for $3,708 on September 4th, 2023. The chipped hat, that's what I'll call them, the chipped hat Halloween Gourdman figural composition candy container sold, again, more than $3,500 in September of 2023. I, like you, know that usually by the time you hit September, you are well within the gravitational pull, the gravity well, as it were, of Halloween. So all collectibles, Halloween, vintage, or antique, are usually rising in price. This one just happened to come out. It's also interesting to note that this piece, which says that he is, let's see, 7 inches tall, that this piece was also replicated by someone trying to scam folks here just recently. So always watch out, folks, for the original hammer prices on pieces, and always check when you see a really interesting piece to make sure that someone else hasn't, especially if it imitates not just the piece, but also the backdrop. In this case, there's this lovely blue tabletop or piece of cloth or whatever they happen to have, but they just straight up lifted the image and tried to resell it, scamming, right? But this was not a scammer, this was a sell, and very interesting looking piece. I like the fact that he has an apron in this candy composition. That was 27. Let's now see the 26th most expensive antique Halloween piece in 2023. Also on eBay, and one of two, I think I have that number right, one of two groups or lots. I don't know if you were also a player on this one. I was a player up to about $2,000, I think, primarily because of this. Check this out. So as soon as you get deep into the images, you can see that you have all of this. These guys, these are very difficult to snag. There's a whole stack of these that are also a little bit difficult. I don't have a scarcity index right next to me, but they are more scarce in addition to the rest of the lot. When I started to actually click through and see just how deep it was, I was thinking that it's fantastic, and clearly others felt the same way. It went for $3,716 in August of 2023, and that was number 26. Up next is number 25. So number 25 is this large jack-o'-lantern candy container. It's a flat candy container. It sold at the Bertoya sale in December of 2023 for $3,750. And I have it at 25, but really it's tied for 23rd with two other pieces. So there actually are three pieces that all tied to 23rd based on the final hammer price of $3,750. And this one is 25. Let's see what number 24 is. Number 24 also tied for 23rd, but number 24 is this really unique large double-faced jack-o'-lantern. It also sold for $3,750, and it also sold in the Bertoya auction in December of 2023. And what's interesting, it's double-sided. It has that face, it also has this face. It has this face, it also has this face. This face makes me chuckle a whole bunch. It's also, it seems, quite large. And because it's quite large, it does seem like a number of folks are really interested, right, in a lantern that would give you a lot of good size. So wanted to make sure you got a chance to look at this at number 24. Now onward to number 23, 23 proper, but still tied for 23rd. 23rd, or tied for 23rd, is this large detailed witch candy container. It sold for $3,750 also, December 1st, also at Bertoya, and is listed as 14 inches high. It does show a little bit of wear, but still fantastic. I always personally look at the hats in the backside of the capes or shawls or whatever they happen to have on them first. I don't know why I do that. I just do look for rubs, but also look for if there are tails for if something has been replaced or some such. But for those of you who collect figural, this may very well have been on your list. At 23rd for $37.50 is this witch candy container, and she swept away the competition. In 22nd place is this Black Cat candy container. It sold for 38, actually this should be listed above it, shouldn't it? It sold for $3,839. I'm just now looking down and realizing, nope, we got it right. It sold at a higher value of $3,839.99 on eBay. This is number 22. And just like number 30, this Black Cat also has kind of the hairy body. And let's see, I don't know if I can click through all the pictures here. Ooh, there's his face. Great face with his glass eyes. Let's just click through and see. Yeah, I don't know if they actually have his head coming off or not. He was stellar. I thought he deserved to receive a slightly higher value than number 30, primarily because he was in such clean shape. Look how clean the hair was on this fella. But they don't have any pictures of his head coming off, but you can see the split on this particular image right here to show you where the head actually comes off, and you can put candy inside of the small container or cavity inside the body. So in number 22nd place is this great candy container. Up next is going to be number 21 in our countdown of the top 30 most valuable, highest grossing, highest hammering, whatever you want to call it, Halloween collectibles of 2023. Now, in case I misstating it for you, the Black Cat also sold on eBay just like this, the Toledo Lantern that comes in at number 21. This Toledo Lantern sold in August of 2023 for $3,900. It does look like its original paint, at least on first blush. I'm not in the room with it. I don't have a black light. I can't look for conservation touch-ups or some such, but from the outset it does look like it's sort of normal wear and tear and oxidation in the images that they provided. This lantern also does not appear to have the larger neck piece, and in my estimation that's because it may be earlier, although in this instance we are not seeing any patent printed out. So it's a good question. For those of you who collect Toledo lanterns, feel free to let us know if it is normal for some and not all to actually have that neck piece, or if there's a different expectation. But again, this is number 21 on our list of the top 30 most expensive grossing vintage or antique Halloween items from 2023 onward to the top 20. Head into our top 20, just a very quick note. As I mentioned, we had a few additional numbers to point up. So I always like to look at thematics. I also always like to look to see what are the genres or really subgenres of collectibles that we're talking about. In terms of the genres or subgenres, there were 12 different lanterns that sold. There were 5 figurals. There were 2 groups. And in terms of candy containers, holy cow, at least 12 candy containers. And so that all happened within that top 30. Additionally, and this is pretty interesting in terms of thematics, there were 12 witches, which is always kind of fun. There were 7 cats. There were 10 pumpkin / jack-o'-lanterns, so something that would be like a living jack-o'-lantern or a pumpkin-headed whatever would count in that. And then, of course, there's a catch-all of a number of things like devils and ghosts and scarecrows that were maybe 1 or 2 each. But I thought it'd be interesting just to kind of point that up very, very quickly. In the top 19, remember once we hit 19, we're going to be looking at everything above $4,000. But so 20th really is going to be the last item that hammered in the 3,000s, and everything 19 and above is going to be in the 4,000s. All right, without further ado, here is number 20. Number 20 is gorgeous, and it almost broke $4,000, but it sold May of 2023. This is a dual-sided composition two-face lantern. I guess I could just call it two-face lantern. Witch on one side, devil on the other. Here is the witch's face. I think she's great. I love the fact that she has the one tooth. Looks like she has one tooth right in the front and just one tooth in the front. Kind of interesting. and a couple other teeth over here on the side. Additionally, here's the devil. He also looks a little bit jovial, more jovial than you might expect. Devil, but that's perhaps he has a compatriot he can talk to all the time, because devil on one side, witch on the other, those form together to comprise one full lantern for $39.52, just under $4,000 in May of 2023. That's number 20. Let's go to number 19. Number 19 is a composition Halloween witch candy container that sold for $4,032 in January of 2023. Just like the candy container, the number 30th candy container, this, the number 19 most expensive antique Halloween collectible that sold in 2023, also sold at Puuk and Puuk auction. And it went well beyond their expectations. As you can see, they had estimated they thought it would go potentially up to $1,200. It sold for over $4,000, and it is a gorgeous, gorgeous piece. I love the fact that she, one, doesn't have a witch hat on, although I love witch hats, but two, has an apron on. So it almost looks like she has been cooking rather than out bewitching anyone, or, I don't know, riding a broom or some such. And a very interesting look. My guess is that this is the kind of piece that is cross-collectible, but very, very cool in January of 2023. Number 18 also sold at auction, not on eBay. This is a Bertoia piece. It sold December 1st, 2023. It's a huge clockwork witch nodder on, it says, on a mushroom. And I believe, yep, there you go. You can see that she actually is sitting on a mushroom. I thought that was kind of interesting. And you can go back to the front and see she still has her feet close, but not all the way on. It looks like not quite all the way down on the pedestal because she's sitting on the mushroom. But it says a clockwork nodder, and perhaps it's because her arm would move up and down. It says that she is 34 inches high, so she's a really big witch, that her glass eyes move as she nods, and that she was likely a window store display. They had projected she might go upwards of $7,000, but she didn't. She sold for $42.50, and we think that she is just great. It'd be really interesting, of course, to be in person with her and to see how much has been restored. They say there are restorations on the base and some paint loss to the hands. And so it'd be interesting to see up close how much of that is true, but still looks to be in great shape. Again, December of 2023. Now, she was number 18. Let's go and see what number 17 is. Number 17 is this just absolutely lovely Compo Black Cat candy container. And you'll remember just a moment or two ago when we were talking about the witch with the apron. This also sold at Puuk and Puuk, just like the witch with the apron. It sold for $42.84, so above $4,000, January 2023 at Puuk and Puuk, and went well above their expectations or their estimates. This is a candy container just like the witch, and you'll notice it also has similar features to the witch. So similar mitt type hands, and of course the apron, except in this case it doesn't have a witch head, it has a black cat head. My guess is that folks were going after both of them at the same time because they almost seem to be a pair. But again, just an absolutely gorgeous black cat candy container from January of 2023. Our 16th most expensive antique Halloween collectible that sold in 2023 is this really, really interesting two-faced witch and devil lantern. It is composition, and just like the previous witch and devil dual-sided or two-faced lantern that we looked at earlier, also brings a premium. This sold in September of 2023 for $43.38.88, so $4,338.88. And man, is this yet one more really interesting looking witch head and devil head. So here's the witch head. Here's the devil head. There might even be one more. Yep, there we go. One more image of the devil. He is also grinning just as the previous devil on the two-faced witch and devil lantern that we looked at, but he has much stronger horns, and it looks almost like the top of this lantern is a little bit more fluted, and the faces are maybe a little bit wider than you might expect them to be. But this is actually pretty small. It's only 4 inches by 3 1/4 inches. So actually a pretty small little tiny lantern. but also just kind of jovial. So all in good fun for this piece that sold September of 2023 on eBay. 15th place is another Toledo 10 Parade Lantern. This sold for $4,403 in July of 2023, and it also sold on eBay. In 14th place is a lot. Here we have a lot that sold January of 2023 for $4,500. And this is another auction house win. This was sold at Cotton Auctions, again, January 2023, and it includes 3 pieces. I'll see if I can, yeah, here we go. I can enlarge a little bit. So you can see there's the accordion with the witch and the black cat dancing. I've seen this piece without the tail, and so my guess is the piece I saw just had lost its tail. Looks like there's a witch figural. She's pretty cool. And I don't know if this is an original candy container, or this might also be handcrafted, so not a non-artisanal candy container, but I might be wrong. It might be one that I'm just not used to, considering it does have it has the spring tail. I was thinking maybe this was a piece that had a spring tail that they then went and crafted a ball and put it on it, because I just hadn't seen that form before. But it may have been a real thing, don't know. But as a lot, very interesting and certainly very expressive and very colorful. And again, all at Cotton in earlier this year in 2023. And Cotton, just like Pook and Pook, happened in January of the year. For $4,500 is this really interesting, very colorful lot. Now we have a few more pieces that all sort of tied for 12th. So last you recall, I was saying 14th. So in the 12th to 13th range, we have a few pieces. And the reason that they're all tying is because they all ended up hammering out the same price. $5,000 in April of 2023 is this additional nice Toledo Parade Lantern. It does seem like there are quite a few of those either around or coming out of collections, and this one happened also on eBay, again for $5,000. Also tying at 12th is this Chattermouth Witch Clockwork Knotter, which I thought was very interesting. It sold at Bertoya December 1st, 2023 for $5,000 even. And I'll just do the one quick close-up look at that Chattermouth. Very, very interesting. I thought the feet were actually kind of cool also. Very, very expressive. And of course, I think pretty well, interestingly designed. 28 inches tall, so taller than 2 feet. That is a massive witch figural, and the fact that its mouth moves makes it really interesting. It also says, when it's sold, that it had some professional restoration, so it would likewise be really important, I think, for a buyer to see this in person, just to kind of check out that preservation work. All right, and finally tied for 12th. This made me sad because I was a bidder or a player on this piece. This, though, is a gorgeous piece. This is a 19-inch high German paper mache witch lantern. It was, or is, glorious. This was from the Hugh Luck collection when he sold way back in the day. Just a fantastic piece. I just loved it. You can see clearly it probably needs a little bit of TLC, but it looks like maybe it's already had a little TLC to sort of take care of it. But it does say that there are remnants of the original paper inserts. But again, just a gorgeous piece. I think well worth this price. I just couldn't quite make myself to get there, but somebody else got there. $5,000, December 1st, 2023 at Bertoya. In 11th place is this really unique stump candle lantern. It sold for $5,466.66 in July of 2023 on eBay. And you can see clearly it is a lantern. It has a face, but it's a stump, which I thought was interesting, inventive, and probably gave a little bit of stability if you were to set your lantern down with a candle. But here's what's really interesting. We'll come back to this in a couple of seconds. Just about the exact same time, another stump lantern also sold. Both of these sold on eBay. And so right now we're at number 11, but when we get back down to, or I should say up to number 9, be watching for the next stump lantern because, again, incredibly rare, and they both came out at the same time, and that has to be like planets aligning or something. All right, are you ready? Ready for the top 10? Here are the top 10 most expensive, highest earning Halloween collectibles of 2023. In 10th place is this incredibly interesting early witch driving a German moss jalopy. So here's a witch. She's about to hop into her moss-based car and drive around. It sold at Bertoya on December 1st, 2023 for $5,500. And the write-up says it's 11 inches, I believe it's 11 inches long, that it has a bisque head and carved wooden legs and shoes and looks like maybe arms as well, or at least hands as well. And of course, looks like the body of the car is comprised of moss. And so that's certainly a very interesting figural by any standard. Number 10. Let's go and see what number 9 is. All right, remember when I said that 11 was a lot like number 9? Well, here's number 11. Now let's see what number 9 looks like. Number 9. Number 9 is also a German Halloween stump candle lantern. Has a face. It's a lantern. It sold for $5,566.66, also in July 2023, also on eBay. And I have no idea if the two collectors of these both decided to list them at the same time, or if one was up with a buy it now and someone else bought this one, saw the other one for a buy it now price and got it very, very similar to this price, or what happened. But something crazy happened because they ended just about the same time on eBay at just about the same price, just about $100 apart. And both are these incredibly rare stump candle lanterns, both selling on eBay in July of this year. Number 8 is this interesting, large, they listed it as gigantic, a very tall, heavy composition Veggie Man candy container. It sold for $5,989.89 in May of 2023. It sold on eBay, and I don't know if he's as surprised as I was when I saw that final hammer price, but he brought a ton and he looks to be in fabulous shape. So my guess is his face might be warranted again in number 8 slot in our 8th place of the top 30 most or highest grossing or earning or hammering antique Halloween or vintage pieces or collectibles from 2023. This happened in May of 2023, happened on eBay, and that tells you that the market for the extremely rare Halloween pieces is solid all year long for those that are most scarce. And clearly, his had to have been pretty scarce in May of 2023. In 7th place is this fabulous witch on cat candy container. I also agree, fabulous. I mean, just look at her face. She's got the warts. I think these are her snaggle tooths hanging out here, but she is riding, or she is astride, a black cat. That cat is a candy container, and taken together, they brought $6,000 on December 1st, 2023 at Bertoia, and folks were having a ball checking this out. I know one person who had a chance to look at it, and everyone agreed how much fun this particular witch was on her black cat. My understanding is they thought this might bring anywhere from 4 to 6, and it brought 6. They listed $2,500 to $4,500, but folks thought it would go north of that. It did. $6,000 December 1st, 2023 at Bertoia, this fabulous witch on a cat candy container. In 6th place is another fantastic candy container. This is a black cat candy container, but you'll notice it's listed as a jack-o'-lantern, and that's because the head is actually a lantern. That is, if you were to put a candle, or like an LED candle the way we do it today, you would actually see it glow out the eyes and the mouth through that insert. Are really just a gorgeous looking piece. I love the fact that it has its mouth wide open. Love the fact that it's both a lantern and a candy composition. Now that I say that, I may have only tallied it as one, but not both. But it's both, right? It's both a candy container and it's a lantern. It sold for $6,499 September of 2023, and it sold on eBay. All right, in 5th place, also selling December 1st, also selling at Bertoia, was another glorious Halloween witch riding a black cat, and that black cat is a candy container. She's got her broom. She's enjoying herself. She's got her snaggletooth almost like fangs. They're so upright. There she is. Look at that face. A face only a mother could love, right? Brought $6,500. And I'm here to tell you that I think this has brought a lot of discussion. What we don't know, because or at least I wasn't in the room, is if there was any preservation done to this witch. There's none listed. and it is listed as being 13 inches tall and in excellent condition. And I bet that it was because it was the highest grossing witch in their sale. Again, December 1st, 2023 at Bertoia. This is a fantastic witch and black cat candy container combo. In fourth place, bringing $7,656 on eBay. September of 2023 is this fabulous candy container. This is a Halloween ghoul. Now, here's something that's incredibly interesting. I don't know if you're like me, but sometimes I look at the very early catalogs and try to figure out if any of those pieces are still around. Many of them are, but many of them are barely around. This is an example of that, and in great shape. This is a piece that actually showed up in a very early catalog. Let me show you an example of this exact piece that showed up in a Shackman catalog. So check this out, 6341. This is their item number for their inventory. There he is. He is, let's see what he lists as there, 63. A comic vegetable figure with pumpkin head, potato feet, and 5 miniature pumpkins on wire springs coming from head. 6 inches. Back then you could buy him for a quarter. That is a Shackman catalog from 1916. Actually, it was the exact same catalog they used, 1916, 17, and 18. Shackman out of New York. But you see him right there? There he is. And you see him right there? There he is. Not for 25 cents, but for $7,656, well over 100 years later. A fabulous piece. Why we only have a couple of pieces left, but I have to say, I actually do know how to spell collectibles when I asked my GenAI assistant to generate me a piece. Apparently, the GenAI thinks that collectibles is spelled with 2 E's, but still a lot of fun. This is the imagination of a GenAI. My guess is that you wouldn't find any of these in the wild. It's also pretty interesting that any of the pieces that we've looked at today that GenAI couldn't afford, right, to put it in its imagery because of the rarity and also the expensiveness. But again, we're down to the top 3. Top 3, the 3 most expensive Halloween collectibles of 2023. Are you ready? Let's go. In third place is this gorgeous composition Halloween witched head lantern. It sold for $9,450 in January of 2023. It also sold in an auction house, Pook and Pook, and it went well above the estimate. She is absolutely glorious. I can pull her up a little bit more here. Look at the composition and the sheen. I also don't see much in the way of crackallure or cracking in and around the compo. She is fantastic. It looks like she might have had a little bit of glue added just to help to hold the insert, but just a gorgeous, gorgeous piece with a very large nose, a very large chin, and we'll call them Princess Leia buns, right? But she clearly is just a gorgeous piece, so you can see why she brought the premium that she did. In second place is this incredibly rare jack-o'-lantern. This is an acorn jack-o'-lantern. It clearly has hand painting. It looks very different from most of the jacks that you happen to see. And I'm just looking down, it says that it's 5 inches tall, but as I sift and sort down through it, like just a handful of other jacks that you happen to see, it does happen to have the leaf color, but this is also a little bit different from those in that it's not just painted green, but it also has 2 different composition regions. One to look like the cap of an acorn, and then the rest look like the rest of it with the face. It is just a stunner. This sold September of 2023 for, get this, $12,600. And I've heard others write about it. I've listened to people talk about it. My guess is that maybe even the seller didn't realize that it would hammer at that price, but clearly that's the gravitational well of Halloween collectibles. So it's not surprising it brought a hefty price. It just went higher than even I thought it would go. And so just a really interesting piece to know about. But it sold on eBay. And as I mentioned, eBay didn't bring the highest price this year. No, the highest price happened at the very, very end of the year. And so let's look at number 1, the highest earning, highest hammer price for a vintage or antique Halloween collectible in 2023. Drum roll. That's my drum roll. Get this. This is number 1. Number 1 beat the acorn. Number 1 beat the lanterns. This is a scarecrow, a pumpkin head scarecrow trade simulator. It reads, great composition head, jack-o'-lantern portraying a nodding scarecrow. It is 23 inches high, just shy of 2 feet. and it had just a couple of small spots of preservation. They estimated up to $5,000. This sold for $19,000, December 1st of 2023 at Bertoia. $19,000. So just a little under $7,000 above number 2. This is our numero uno, the number 1 earning piece this year at the very end of the year to blow everything out of the water. And I just want to end by saying that it's been a phenomenal year to watch all the collectibles, folks talking about them, but also selling them, not just on eBay, but also at major auction houses and even smaller auction houses. And I'll also just mention that there are deals to be had. You'll find them at estate sales, at garage sales. You will certainly find them in numerous online platforms, not just at the big auction houses and not just on eBay, but make sure you keep a watchful eye on those platforms also, because there are some phenomenal pieces going out. And even if you, let's say, don't invest in just the most expensive, you want to keep track of what you see there, because you never know when you might happen to come across any of these pieces. Well, that's it. That's our top, I need to add a 0, our top 30 highest grossing Halloween, highest earning, highest hammering antique Halloween collectibles for 2023. I'm Kurt with oldhalloween.com, and I will see you next time as we dig in further into good old Halloween. Enjoy.